All 12 jurors said guilty of 34 felony charges. Judge rules that Vybez Kartel must remain behind bars. Cricket World Cup begins tomorrow. This is Undiluted News. Mikey Bones reporting. All 12 jurors said guilty of 34 felony charges, and of course we know that wicked people will never go unpunished according to Proverbs 11 verse 21.
Jurors perform a fundamental civic duty. Their service is literally the cornerstone of our judicial system. We should all be thankful for the careful attention that this jury paid to the evidence and the law and their time and commitment over these past several weeks. 12 everyday New Yorkers, and of course our alternates, heard testimony from 22 witnesses, including former and current employees of the defendant, media executives, book publishers, custodians of records, and others. They reviewed call logs, text messages, and emails. They heard recordings. They saw checks and invoices, bank statements, and calendar appointments. The 12 everyday jurors vowed to make a decision based on the evidence and the law, and the evidence and the law alone. Their deliberations led them to a unanimous conclusion beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, Donald J. Trump, is guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree to conceal a scheme to corrupt the 2016 election. And while this defendant may be unlike any other in American history, we arrived at this trial and ultimately today at this verdict in the same manner as every other case that comes through the courtroom doors, by following the facts and the law and doing so without fear or favor. I want to conclude by expressing deep gratitude to the NYPD and the officers of the Office of Court Administration for securing the courthouse, all of our safety, making sure the courthouse and all of the other matters that are important in their own right continued seamlessly. They will continue to be and have always been incredible partners. Thank you.
That's the voice of the Ethiopians and also Alvin Bragg. Supreme Court Judge Justice Andrea Thomas has ruled that dancehall entertainer Vybez Kartel and two of his three co-accused should remain behind bars pending the decision of the Court of Appeal on whether they are to be retried for the murder of Clive Lizard Williams. Justice Thomas delivered her written judgment on Wednesday afternoon. Attorneys for Kartel, whose given name is Adidja Palmer, Sean Storm Campbell, and Andre St. John, had filed a habeas corpus application requesting their release following the recent Privy Council decision to quash their convictions. The attorneys had argued that because the convictions were thrown out, the charges against the men no longer existed, so they were being unlawfully detained and unconstitutionally deprived of their liberty. But in refusing their release, Judge Thomas said the charges against the men remain and only the Court of Appeal can rule to release them. Education Minister Favour Williams denounced the savage assault on a Clarendon teacher that occurred on Tuesday at Vere Technical High School. Wednesday saw the suspension of classes at the school following a sit-in by teachers in opposition to the police decision to charge a female teacher who had earlier been attacked on the school grounds by a student's family. The protesting teachers swore not to resume classes until the Ministry of Education checked into the situation. Minister Williams expressed regret for the incident and stated that her ministry is still totally committed to helping the impacted teacher and enhancing school safety. 300 rounds of ammunition have been seized by the police in Clarendon. The ammunition were seized on Tuesday in Gimeme-Bit. The police said about midday on Tuesday, a team carried out a targeted raid at a property in Gimeme-Bit. A search was conducted and 292 12-gauge cartridges were found in 2 boxes. No one was arrested in that incident. And on the next day on Duke Street in Tollgate, a man fled the police and left behind a backpack containing 2 pistols. According to reports, Maypen police officers were conducting inquiries at 1:30 p.m. when they noticed a man without a shirt and carrying a black bag across his chest. When the police came to him, he did a Usain Bolt 100 meters dash and took off, leaving the bag, a white merino, and the shirt he was holding. And inside the bag was a Browning single-action handgun with 10 rounds of ammunition and a Glock P80 with a magazine holding 14 bullets. And he was actually faster than Bolt because the police only saw his back. 2 people are dead following a motor vehicle collision along the Linders Hill Main Road in Westmoreland on Wednesday. They have been identified as 37-year-old Matthew Hutchinson of Rough Lane in Glendevon in St. James and 28-year-old Shade Bennett of Watchwell in St. Elizabeth. Reports from the Whittown police indicate that about 11:30 a.m., Mr. Hutchinson was driving a Toyota Succeed motorcar when he overtook a line of traffic and collided head-on with a Toyota Axio. That collision resulted in an international prostate truck colliding into the left and rear side of the Toyota Succeed. The Toyota Succeed continued in the right lane, which resulted in a third impact with the right front section of another truck before coming to a stop. The police were summoned and the injured persons were taken to hospital, where Mr. Hutchinson and Miss Bennett, who was a passenger in the other Toyota, were pronounced dead. While bemoaning Wednesday's deadly crash, Vice Chair of the National Road Safety Council Dr. Lucien Jones said the country is on track to rival last year's staggering figure of 425 fatalities, and as of May 25th of this year, 170 road fatalities have occurred, now barely trails last year's figure of 174. Several operations were carried out in Tivoli Gardens in the Kingston Western Police Division in search of men who fired on a police team yesterday morning. One of the operations resulted in the seizure of a firearm. Senior Superintendent Michael Phipps, head of the police division, says about 3:30 p.m. the police responded to reports of explosions in Denham Town. The body of a man identified as Rondell Keith Douglas of a Tivoli Gardens address was found on Albert Street in the vicinity of the Denham Town police station. SSP Phipps said officers were processing the scene when they came on the attack. SSP Phipps said the attack was repelled and a firearm and ammunition were seized. And he said operations are now ongoing in the Tivoli Gardens area to locate the men responsible for the attack. A 3-year-old boy is dead and 6 other persons injured after they were stabbed and beaten by a man said to be of unsound mind at Pagee in Port Maria St. Mary on Wednesday. Another child is also among the wounded. The attacker, who recently arrived in the island from the United States, is now in police custody. And it's reported that Asher was walking with his mother and other family members in their community when the man armed with a knife and construction steel attacked him. 4 of his relatives, including his mother, were injured when they tried to assist. Superintendent Babette Morgan Simpson, head of the St. Mary Police, says the unprovoked incident occurred sometime before 4 p.m. On to sports. The Cornwall College family was plunged into mourning yesterday with the news that student Dane Buckley, a member of the school's DaCosta Cup football team, succumbed to injuries he received in a drive-by shooting incident in his Blood Lane community in late April. The 18-year-old boy had represented Cornwall College in both under-16 and DaCosta Cup football over the past 3 years and was expected to return for his final year of eligibility when the 2024 schoolboy football season kicks off in September. And also, Cricket World Cup begins tomorrow with the first game, the USA versus Canada. And on Sunday, the West Indies, who is definitely the favorite, will face Papua New Guinea, while Oman will battle Namibia. And it all takes place right in our backyard in the United States at various locations across the country. And don't forget, the best news and sports takes place on this station. If you missed the news, please go to YouTube, type in Jamerican Undiluted News. Listen, like, share, and subscribe to keep us going. That's news and sports on your favorite radio station. My name is Mikey Bones. Have a wonderful weekend. I gone.